This video is going to talk about area and perimeter of rectangles. Be sure the date and topic are at the top of your page. The essential question of this video is, can the perimeter of a rectangle change without changing the area? Now, we've worked with rectangles before, so it should be review to share how we find the area and perimeter of a rectangle shape. Perimeter, of course, is the distance around a shape. We calculate the perimeter by simply adding up all the sides. You'll see this written in a variety of ways. Sometimes you'll see perimeter equals side plus side plus side plus side, but for rectangles we can also say 2 lengths plus 2 widths, right? Because in a rectangle we have the length and we have that twice, and we have the width and we have that twice, so we could add that up. We could even also write this using our knowledge of the distributive property as 2 groups of the length and the width. So all of these are ways that we might see people describing or showing how they would find perimeter. On the other hand, area is the space inside a shape. For rectangles, we can calculate this by simply multiplying the length by the width. You'll often see this recorded as area being equal to the length times the width, or sometimes you'll see it as the area is the base times the height. Both work. So we're going to play around with this information a little bit to see some of the properties of rectangles. So let's say our school wants to build a garden, and in order to fit all of the plants that we want in there, we need it to be 24 square meters. The question is there more than one way to build the garden? And the answer is, of course, right? There's lots of different ways we could build this. First of all, since I said square meters, I just want to point out that what we know already is square meters. This is an indication that the 24 is the area. So all I know right now is that the area is 24 square meters. However, I don't know what the dimensions of the garden could be. I don't know what my length or my width would be. And that's important because if I need to build a fence around it, I need to know the dimensions so that I can measure the perimeter and know how much fence to get. Well, with a question like this, we don't actually know exactly what the perimeter is because it depends on how I build the garden. If I know the garden is 24 square meters, and I'm thinking to myself I only want to use whole numbers, I'm trying to figure out what dimensions I could multiply to make 24. Because we know that the area would be the length times the width, right? And so we need to figure out what length and width could make 24. So what two numbers make 24? Well, you're probably thinking of something right off the bat. Right off the bat, I'm thinking that I could make my garden 1 by 24, and that would make 24 square meters, right? That'd be a really skinny, long garden. I could also do one that is 2 by 12, and that would also have an area of 24 meters. Seems like I'm starting a list here. I'm going to actually stop for a moment and create a table so I can keep track of all of our options. So we're going to keep track of our options here in a table. My table has 4 columns that I want you to copy into your journal: length, width, area, and perimeter. The first option that I came up with was a garden that was 1 meter long and 24 meters wide for an area of 24 square meters. We also thought maybe we could have it be 2 meters long, 12 meters wide, and that would also have the same space that we need of 24 square meters. Take a moment and see if you can brainstorm all the different possibilities that you could come up with to make a rectangle that's 24 square meters. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to brainstorm as well, and then we'll come back and see if we agree and see how we did. How'd you do? I found all these different possibilities for our garden. And some of you might have half as many options that I had, but I noticed that the length and the width could be swapped around, right? So we could have a 1 by 24 or a 24 by 1 meter garden to have an area of 24 square meters. So all of these options give us the space inside that we want, but if we want to think about the fence that we need around the garden, we're going to need to know the perimeter. Do you think the perimeter is going to be the same for each of these rectangles? This is where the video is going to do something a little different than what we're used to. I'm actually going to leave this perimeter column blank, and I'm going to have you fill it in, and tomorrow we're going to share what we found. I'll do one with you just to show you what I'm looking for, and then I'm going to end the video and have you finish it before you come into class. So we're going to take a look together at this first option here. And I'm just going to draw a quick sketch. It's not to scale, just something that I have a visual that I can look at here. So our first option was that the length is 1 meter and the width is 24 meters. So I've just labeled the sides, and from here I want to find the perimeter. And I can find the perimeter by adding up all the sides. So it's 1 plus 24 plus 1 plus 24. Altogether, that makes 50 meters of fencing. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my column up here, 50 meters of fencing. You're going to go ahead and finish this table on your own. Tomorrow in class, I'll check that your table is complete, and we'll be able to have a discussion about it. Remember that the essential question of the video is, can the perimeter of the rectangle change without changing the area? So we have this whole column has one area. Every single one of these rectangles is going to have the same area, and we're going to be looking at this column together tomorrow to see if the perimeter can change and what type of shape might have larger or smaller perimeters but have the same area. So be ready to have that discussion tomorrow in class by completing the table and giving a little bit of time, giving yourself a little bit of time to think it over.